This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand. No more waiting, no more fear. The truth is loud, the choice is clear. A nation proud, a people free. Scotland's fate is up to we. From the mountains to the shore, we dream of something more. A land of promise, hope and fire. A future that will lift us higher. This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand. For every voice that's yet to speak, for every heart that still feels weak, we march, we sing, we'll break the chain, we'll never bow, we'll rise again. This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand.
Oh, good evening, Scotland. Good evening, social media land. I hope you are well. It is friggin' roasting. I am boiled. Honest to God. It's like my house is so hot. It's so hot because unfortunately I thought I'd had the windows open and I didn't. So when my wife and my daughter came back from work, they were like, it's hotter in the house than it is outside. And I'm like, idiot, did I leave the windows open? And the living room window was locked tight shut. What an idiot, eh? Anyway, good evening, Scotland. Good evening, social media land. I hope you are well and I hope that you're not as cooked as me. It is Friday, the 20th of June, 2025. Welcome to Saorsa Live. Tonight, we're only streaming in YouTube land because, well, TikTok are techno weenies and don't seem to want to talk to Streamlabs for my account anyway. So we don't have a stream coming from my PC into TikTok land just now. So apologies anybody watching this back that was expecting it to be in TikTok as well. I have reapplied again. I have contacted Streamlabs like I did before and it should come back on. It is just a technical thing. It's not something that I've done. Well, not that I'm aware of anyway. We're still recording this live and all the comments so to ensure the security and integrity of the stream. However, before we get started tonight, you know that sometimes we get some quite interesting comments in the YouTube part of it all. And last week I was quite what's the word to use? I was a bit revolutionary because I went away and looked up some interesting revolutionary characters who were writers and activists to try and grab what they thought about democracy and revolutionary acts. And well, I got this particular comment from somebody, here we go, from John Gordon. I love how Saorsa cites as examples for the indie movement to follow communists like Gramsci and Fanon, who hated democracy. Their inclusion gives you some idea about Saorsa's views on democracy. I love that. I really do. And thank you, John Gordon, for giving me the opportunity to engage a little bit more about these people. So I'm just going to start tonight by replying to that. It'll just take 5 minutes because I think it's important, because when someone comments, Saorsa cites communists like Gramsci and Fanon who hated democracy, they're not really making an argument. They're just waving a Cold War flag and hope that no one notices how hollow it sounds. So we're going to have a wee look at this, okay? So because if you're going to attack the Scottish independence movement by trying to smear it through some of other revolutionary thinkers that I draw from, then you better understand what these thinkers actually stood for. And here's a spoiler alert: it wasn't dictatorship and it wasn't anti-democracy. It was a deeper, more radical vision of democracy than the shallow version that defenders of the status quo are comfortable with. So Antonio Gramsci spent his life fighting for workers' rights, cultural dignity, and the right of people, ordinary people, to govern themselves. He believed in real change, and that would come through, not through violent revolution, but through a war of position, where the working class would slowly displace the ruling elite's grip on culture, education, and media. And we can see that happening more and more with the internet. Gramsci didn't reject democracy. He rejected the elite managed facade of it. He wanted participatory democracy rooted in lived experience. Direct democracy is probably the closest definition we've got for it, and collective power, not a system where people vote every few years and then get told to sit down, be quiet, while the real decisions are made elsewhere. He wrote most of his work while being imprisoned by Mussolini in Italy. Imprisoned, yeah. And yet he still managed, he was imprisoned by a fascist, by the way, okay, just so you know that. I think that there's been quite a lot of interesting people being imprisoned and murdered by fascists. Anyway, he was imprisoned by Mussolini and yet still managed a democratic future for his country. Still imagined, a democratic future for his country. That's not the vision of an authoritarian. That's the vision of someone who believed that democracy was only real when it was owned by the people, not controlled by the rich. That's why he supported the concept of things like factory councils or organic intellectuals, because democracy for him wasn't something that comes from the top down. It had to come from below. Now let's talk about Fanon very briefly. The moment you bring up Frantz Fanon, some people instantly retreat behind the tired phrase, but he supported violence, as if that's all you need to say to erase the full context of what he was fighting. Fanon wasn't violent because he was power hungry. He was violent because French colonialism was violent and he was fighting against it. Do you think that he would have been a violent man if he wasn't fighting violence? Would you not stand up if your family and friends were being murdered, tortured by a colonial regime? Would you not want to fight back? Or would you just sit back and be a coward and go, I don't want to do this because that guy's a communist. That guy's a violent man. No, you would fight. Of course you would fight. If somebody took something like that away from you, you would fight. Anyway, because the people of Algeria weren't being given the luxury of a ballot box, they were being tortured, dehumanized, and ruled by an empire that preached liberty but practiced genocide. Fanon's writing is uncomfortable because it holds up a mirror to those who live in systems of power and comfort while others are denied even basic rights. He wasn't rejecting democracy, he was demanding it. He wanted people who had been colonized and brutalized to have real self-rule, not a fake flag handed to them by their former masters. He warned against corrupt national elites replacing colonial ones and was deeply concerned that so-called independence would become a hollow transfer of power unless people were genuinely in control of their own destiny. Direct democracy again. This is not a rejection of democracy. That's a fight for a true meaning of democracy. So let's be clear. Gramsci and Fanon didn't hate democracy. They hated hypocrisy. They hated empires that called themselves democratic while destroying lives. They hated the lie of participation without power, and they weren't afraid to name it. It sounds that there's a lot of people in our movement that call people out, both within our movement and also within the status quo. That's what these men did. They called out the hypocrisy. They called out what was wrong with the system. And in one of their cases, they fought back against violence with violence. Anyway, because if we're serious about Scottish democracy, about self-determination, liberation and real people's power, then we do well to listen to those who have studied and lived what happens when democracy is denied. We're lucky that we don't have to pick up pitchforks and torches or AK-47s to go and fight. We're really lucky that we can do it through digital means, then through marches and demonstrations. We don't have to go and cause a riot. We don't have to go and, fight an empire with violence. We can fight it with words. We can fight it by winning the hearts and minds. We can do it peacefully. That's who we are, but we can take the lessons from these people, the soft approach within their writings to understand about how revolution is within culture, within writing, and it's also a mindset to first of all reject colonialism. These are all good things for a movement. And for someone to write this, their inclusion gives you some idea of how Saorsa views democracy. I view democracy very seriously, and I will take whomever has a good idea and use that to rationalise my thinking in a positive manner. And if you took the time to actually listen to the whole of the videos, you would see that. But, you just jump on Gramsci and Fanon. Anyway, there was also the people in the Irish Dáil. Why are you not criticising them? Why are you not criticising me for that, John? What about the men that wrote the Declaration of Arbroath? They're also included in my Revolutionaries discussion this week. Why are you not criticising them? You're just jumping on these two. Are they not also, the other two that I just mentioned, are they not like pinnacles of democracy and revolution? Well, there you go. You just choose what you want to say and be critical of it. Anyway, let's listen to this wonderful message and I will be right back. Start our lives with an important reminder that we are fighting one of the world's greatest propaganda machines, the British state and their right-wing oligarch-run media. To combat this, we ask that you always follow, like and share and comment positively across all social media platforms on any of your favourite Scottish independence creators and commentators. By doing this, you help to spread the word of our cause and manipulate social media algorithms to benefit our struggle. So please, for now, like and share this live stream, and if you haven't already, follow this account. Thank you. Cool. Right, so let me have a quick look at the chat. There's David Keane, Andy, Eddie, Caroline. I'm going to bring my big loudspeaker and all my songs, Caroline, so we will be playing that one. I'll look for you flying the Saltire flag. There's bound to be hardly anybody there with Saltire, so it'll be easy to find you. Okay. There is Henry Hashbury, Sky Echo. Good to see you there, lady. And who else? I'm sure I saw Ken, and I'm sure that I saw Davey, and I'm sure that I saw Martin. Hiya, Martin. Hope you're good. Hope you're feeling better, brother. Scottish Steve. He's going to be my train buddy tomorrow. Steve and Mo travelling together. We get beers. No, that's going to be dangerous. We're not going to do that on the way back. Okay, let's get smashed. Right. What else we got? There's Kelly. Yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of these. And listen, I am completely flat with the heat and I'm absolutely boiled. But tonight I wanted to talk about how voting for Scotland is a revolutionary act, but I need to kind of set the scene a little bit. And the scene is kind of being set on the backdrop of the Scotland 2050 conference, and specifically John Swinney's speech, which many have been very frustrated with and many moderates would feel quite comfortable with. So I've kind of broken it down into 9 little sections, just little sections of a couple of hundred words. And I'm going to read off that and we'll split it in 2. We're going to talk about it because I think that there were some good things in it and there were some frustrating things in it. So we need to sort of like have a balanced view about this. And then we're going to talk about how, after we've gone through that, we're going to talk about, you know, our little own revolutions in our heads and our hearts, and how it's important that, you know, we acknowledge the tools rather than the politics, the tools that we've got for our revolution rather than the political entities and things. But let's just get started with the John Swinney thing, okay? Where are we? I've lost the spot. Here we go. Sorry. See, when I push mute on my control pad here, it makes my script move up and down. I can't figure out why that is. Anyway, right. John Swinney stood at the Scotland 2050 conference and painted a vision of what our nation could become. A clean energy powerhouse, a society free of child poverty, a modern, compassionate European country confident in its place in the world. He spoke of transformation, ambition, and a Scotland that finally takes the wheel of its own future. And to his credit, much of that vision is one many of us have spent our whole lives fighting for. It's what we already want. But something was missing. The speech held all the correct values, all the right aspirations, but the fire was locked in a box. It was framed as if we had decades to get there, as if independence could remain a polite aspiration waiting for better weather, as if people weren't ready, as if the movement wasn't already moving towards independence. So I wrote all this because I feel that we can't afford to wait for that fire to be let out. This is kind of my words for people who are ready to act and, you know, move forward without asking for permission. For those who are kind of tired of the gradualism and ready to strike with purpose. For those who know that independence isn't something to be managed by a cautious government, but something to be seized by a united movement, a united nation. The future Swinney described is not far off, but it will not arrive on its own, and it will not arrive by 2050 unless we make it come right now. So this is not going to give all the answers. It's not going to give you the direction that we might need, but it will give you ideas and it might inspire you in the right way. The language that you used, Westminster is failing Scotland, is a comfortable phrase for those still clinging to the hope that things might get better. But it's not. It's succeeding at controlling us. The truth is far more brutal. It's deliberate extraction of the truth, in my opinion. This is the state of the union that's built on dependency. That's what Scotland is. We are basically pushed into a dependent position. I don't like that use of phrase at all. Our energy, resources and our potential are drained to prop up a broken system. These are all things that we know. These are all things that when they're talked about, when they're preaching to the choir, we sort of listen to it and we're like, we know this. What are you going to do that's different? We know about austerity. We know that Brexit was an error, and we know that every time we show potential as a nation, Westminster answers with silence or sabotage. It hoards the power, blocks progress, and spins dependency as protection for us, when we actually need protection from the union. These are things that activists are aware of. These are things that when you listen to him, you thought, see, I like John. I know John. I've met him a couple of times. He's not a bad man. But I get frustrated sometimes. And I'm an SNP member. I'm an SNP candidate. I don't not believe in the SNP. I just want more direction. Anyway, sorry. I'm digressed off the path. I don't want to digress off the path. Okay. So Scotland, as our aspirations are being held hostage. We've already spoken over and over again. We voted to stay in the EU. That was robbed from us. We voted for a more equal society, for climate justice, for dignity and welfare, for public services, for peace and for hope. But what did we get? We got the complete opposite. We got dragged out of Europe. We got food banks that are normalised now. We got our offshore wealth claimed by the Crown. We got contempt from Downing Street and complicity from Labour. We got a political system that tells us to sit still while decisions are made elsewhere without us. And they're made against us. This is no longer about whether independence is a good idea. It's the only idea that offers a way forward. Every other road ends in waiting, pleading, or disappointment. So my question is quite openly and quite there is, what do we do? Okay, what do we do to move forward? Don't answer it just now. Think about it, because I've got another question I'm going to ask you in just a minute, and we're going to discuss these at the end. John also said that devolution is a cage, not a compromise. We know this. I call it working within the powers of devolution under a glass ceiling. We can see through that glass ceiling. We can see the mountains. We can see the promised land. We can see things that are better. It's also that extendable leash of Devo Max, where basically it gives the illusion of power, but it can be reeled back in at any time. These are things that we already know and accept. We don't need to hear them. What we need to hear is, what are we going to do about it? But because we don't hear that, we feel, and sometimes I fall down this lane as well. We get ourselves into a position where we rely on direction from political leaders. Now, I'm going to give you a great example of two entities within the independence movement that are not listening to political leaders, and that is Liberation Scotland and Mike Fenwick's Declaration of a Sovereign Scot. They're both taking it away from Scotland and into international hands. These are things that are fantastic for the movement, but my question would be, why are we not working with them more? If there's people here that work with them, okay, have you donated yet? Have you given up, some money to Liberation for their campaign and their funds that they need at the United Nations? They need a small fortune. But do you know something? Hang on, let me just work this out. I think they need £250,000. So let's call it 300,000. So 300,000 divided by 20 equals. So here we go. If 15,000 of us gave 20 quid. So even if we did that, say save £10 this month and save £10 next month, and gave Liberation Scot 20 quid each, 15,000 of us, that's £300,000. See, when you break it down like that, it's not a lot of money, right? It really isn't. And I think that would be a very positive thing to do, 20 quid. It's not going to break the bank. It might do for some people, so don't go and do it if you can't afford it. Okay? Please do it if you can, though, and you believe in it. And Mike Fenwick will probably be at the march tomorrow. If you have not signed his Declaration of a Sovereign Scot, go and seek him out. Get it signed. Tell him that Mo sent you. Mo says I have to come and sign this. Okay, he knows who I am. I've got about 75 more declarations to get signed. Okay, sitting in my special mic bag, which is just down on the floor down there. I keep it special for going out. If I'm going out, talking to people, that's what I do. All right, so these are things that would work very well. I've gone right off script. Okay, I really have. I'm just going to go straight to the jingle and the music in a minute. I think that I felt a little bit disappointed and a little bit lifted at the same time, because I know that John was trying to speak. He was trying to speak to the moderates, and maybe not so much to the movement, because the movement knows that it wants independence. What the movement wants is also leadership. But I've talked many times about how leadership doesn't come from politics. Politics is a tool. Liberation Scotland and Mike Fenwick's, these initiatives are also tools. They are our international wing. Okay, and then there's us. We're that third pillar, the grassroots movement, the people. Because all the revolutionaries that I mentioned this week, they all firmly understood that nothing else works. International recognition doesn't come. Political competence doesn't come without us. Without us going out and doing things. It's us that has to have the revolution. It's us that has to stand up and make politics work. It doesn't matter if you don't like the policies of the SNP, if you don't like what Alba is going to do, if you don't like ISP, sovereignty, or the new Scotland Party, the SSP, doesn't really matter to me. Do you know that? It doesn't. Just vote for Scotland. Just go and do it. You know, take advantage of there's people in the comments I'm pouring my heart out tonight. There's people in my comments that are done with the SNP. And even though I'm a member and a candidate, I understand that from an activist point of view. And I'm getting involved with local politics because I feel that I can make a difference within my local community. I think it's really important, really, really important. But from an activist point of view, I want more. I want more direction. I want the political pillar to be more amicable to each other. But the politics of it all can only be changed if the followers of the political entities rise above the colour of their flags or the cause. A lot of that has to come from the SNP as well. I totally get that. I understand that. And this is one of the other reasons I want to get into that. I want to speak to people within the party more with a little bit of clout. I don't even know if I'm going to get elected next week, you know? But it gives me the opportunity to go and speak to people and see how they feel about things and, you know, give them the confidence to raise their voice about change and stuff. But yeah, let me play a song. Okay, it's, I think I played this last week, but we'll play it again. It's a bit of a slow one and it's kind of important with what we're doing just now. I'll be right back after it.
You said you'd be the voice we need, not just to govern, but to lead. But somewhere in the daily grind, you left the burning cause behind. We don't need calm, we need the storm. The fight for freedom shouldn't feel this warm. Lead us out or let us go. You can't just drift, you have to show that politics will not suffice. It's our national, 'cause you put on ice. Put on ice. You hold the mic, but speak so soft. Dreams don't grow where truth is lost. You played it safe, forgot the sound of people rising from the ground. this road with grit and steel. It's not your job, it's what we feel. Lead us out, or let us go. You can't just drift, you have to show that politics will not suffice. It's our national cause you put on ice. You put on ice.
I like that song. When I wrote the words for that, I was pretty angry. You know, right, there's a couple of really good comments in here. So, let you into a little secret, right? There will be somebody from the SNP speaking on the stage tomorrow, all under one banner. Always try to get balance for it. They actually asked me to go and speak on behalf of the SNP, but because I'm just a candidate, I said to them, look, I'm just a candidate. I don't feel that I can truly represent the SNP up on the stage, but I'd be quite happy to come and speak as an activist up on the stage. But they wanted somebody from the SNP. They suggested it would be really good for my campaign, which I agreed, but I declined basically because if I ever get the opportunity to speak on the stage at any rally, I want to speak as an activist. I don't want to speak as a politician. I want to be up there, and I want to be Mo from Saorsa, not Murray from the SNP. And I think that I can have more of an impact with the things that I would say as an activist than I would any other way. Hashberry's right as well. There's a lot of people that are from the SNP that go to the marches, but I think that Martin was talking more about people from representing the SNP from the party directly up on the stage doing things. So the good news is there will be somebody there tomorrow, because I got told, you know, in a wee message saying, don't worry, you don't need to come and do that now. But, you know, hopefully one day I'll be able to go and address you all with my own personal brand of upbeat chit chat. Right, so listen, I'm not going to go rest of through what John Swinney was talking about, okay? John I think somebody said that he was speaking to a broad audience. Absolutely. And this is something that we sometimes fail to recognise as activists. The SNP are the governing party. They are the Scottish government. So they have to try and tick all the boxes as best as possible for people that also don't believe in them, that wouldn't vote for them. They also have to try and balance that with their ability to be activists, because if they were too radical within the government sort of side of things, if they were too radical, it might put people off voting for them, and then we kind of lose that momentum. That's not an excuse, okay? Because I feel that you can be political in the political theatre, but you can be activists outside of that. So this is where I feel when we're voting for Scotland, we want to elect a pro-Scottish government and a pro-Scottish opposition. We want to push out the unionist parties, because the question we need to ask ourselves is, would we not prefer the SNP as a government debating with Alba, ISP, Sovereignty, all these people, all these different parties? I would prefer these parties to be in, no matter how much I agree or disagree with them, right? I would rather have them in, talking, discussing, debating with the SNP as even a minority government than Labour and the Tories, and certainly more than Reform. And that's what we have to get our head round in the summer. We're going to be hitting the summer recess very soon. And I think that it's really important that we do a bit of soul searching over the summer. We've got the march tomorrow. There'll be interesting speakers there. There'll probably be a bit of like, where's the SNP? Where's this? What's going on? And there'll be a bit of that sort of feeling. But we have to remember that Alba are our brothers and sisters, that the people in the ISP are our brothers and sisters, the people that are in Sovereignty are our brothers and sisters, the people that are in New Scottish Party are our brothers and sisters. And a lot of these parties are going to be running in the list, or independence people will be running in the constituencies as well. And we have to decide what we want to do. And I think it's absolutely vital that you come to that conclusion on your own, what you think the most important decision will be. But please just go and vote. Right, so the other thing is, tomorrow is the SNP's National Committee up in Perth. It kind of lands on the day again. I think it was a couple of years ago they had a conference that landed on the Bannockburn March, the Stirling March, the date for that as well. Now, that's all well. It would be nice if it didn't. But John Swinney is hosting a question and answer debate type thing on independence. Now, there's a couple of my friends that are going to be going there, and we've talked about questions very briefly. But I wanted to ask you guys now. Don't want you to put your angry activist's head on. I want you to think of like a question that if you were to ask John Swinney a question about independence, that would move the conversation on positively to inspire a bit of critical thinking within the party of government. What would you ask them? What would you ask them? Write it down here, and if any of the admins are on there just now, if I miss any of them, I'll try and get through as many of the questions as I can, and we'll discuss them. If any of my admins are in just now, if you copy and paste them and can send me them on WhatsApp. So I just had a message just there. All right, it's okay. It's just an acknowledgement for the trains and shoot tomorrow. Yeah, so if there's something there, please copy and paste it, send it to me on WhatsApp, and I'll, just in case I miss it. But there is that. And what was the question asked? I said not to answer straight away there. There was something else asked earlier on. I can't remember what it was. I'm rubbish. Utterly rubbish. So yeah, let's have a look. I know that we're running about a minute behind. You guys will be like getting what I'm saying slowly but surely, so I'm just going to ramble on for a couple of seconds. In fact, we could just play another quick jingle just now. Let's do the unicorn jingle. Cool. Right, so in the time that it took to do the unicorn jingle there, I've got one question. So for BB, I'd ask him what he thinks we should do about the coming famine and the war that's being instigated. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. It's not about independence though, is it? Well, it could be. It could be put into an independence context. If we were independent, could we mitigate that? Could we do better for us all and everything? But yeah, that's it. Would they consider standing down on the list would be my question. See, I think I always have voted SNP1 any other indie. It's always been green for me. Whether I vote green this time round, I don't know yet. Okay, but I think that a strategy where all the parties of independence, all the parties of our revolution, of our whatever we want to call it, right? That, like I said earlier, if they can scrap and they can go at it in Holyrood, but they should be linking arms and marching together as often as possible outside of Holyrood, because that's the cause. Politics is not the cause, okay? Freedom, independence, liberty, all that stuff is the cause. Politics is a tool within that, okay? And we have a government, we have the means to show the world, hey, look, Scotland has an independence thinking government, and they've done so much more for Scotland than any of the parties of the Union have ever done. That's not up for debate, okay? They are not a crap party when it comes to delivering for Scotland if you put them up against Labour and the Tories. We just need to push them towards independence more. That's what we want. But no, I think that's a good question. Would they consider standing down on the list? I would go further, and I would say as a statement, I think that you should stand down on the list and talk to other parties. I think that should be discussed at national conference, and we should have some clever people writing resolutions for that to be voted upon. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Is there a constitutional advantage to getting an indie ref to joining the EU or EFTA? I think that Sky, that I'm all for EFTA to begin with, because we can get that much quicker, and then a referendum later on for it all. But I don't think that we would, because we couldn't do it before independence. But getting an indie ref to joining the EU and EFTA, I wouldn't put that on the ballot paper for independence. I would probably keep that separate, because there's some Eurosceptics within the independence movement, you know. Hashbury, no, it's not a question. Oh, the conversation is going too fast. Let me just go back down. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Hashbury asking, getting somebody to ask that. I think there'll be a few people wanting to ask that. I think what you have to remember is that not everybody in the party follows the party line. Within it all, they vote for the SNP not just because of independence, but because they're a competent government, okay, that also wants independence, and they feel that it's the largest vehicle to move that along, even though large vehicles move and accelerate far slower than smaller ones. I think there's an element of that as well. Okay, all indie parties need to come together for. Yeah, Maureen, I could not agree with you more. I think we should push 100%. The 100% benefits that the SNP have delivered, like you listed. Yeah, I did 4 days where I took the 100 things the SNP have done for us, and I wrote them like a story, and I did them over 4 videos. I think we should just, I'll stick those particular links in the description of this video, of this live afterwards. Go and share them. Go and share them across as many different groups as possible. Incidentally, here's just something, a complete side quest here. My brain is just fried, because it's so hot. There was a group that said that an independence group who has one rule: you must be for independence. That basically, where a friend of mine posted something and had a hashtag or basically an @ all under one banner, and @Saorsa, and the post was denied because they don't want to promote Saorsa or what's it called? All under one banner. And I found that quite amusing, because why? You know, why? It would be like me turning around and saying I don't support ISP or I don't support Alba. Of course I do. These are parties that are wanting to do things better for Scotland and promote independence, you know? What the hell? Anyway, Davey, I'm sorry I'm making you fall asleep. Go to sleep, Dave. Davey, go to sleep. Sleepy. Davey, go to sleep. Go to sleep, my Davey. No. Yeah, I've told you my brain's cooked tonight. All right, so what else have we got? Yeah, with the 100% benefits, that's really good for the moderates and the people to bring voters into it. But we need to be doing more. I think that the SNP need to consider independence. The two separate things: competent governance and activism. Okay, they can do competent governance. They know, they have the experience for that. Okay, activism. Well, are we not the experts on activism? Okay, do we not understand the voting system? Do we not get attacked when we say don't vote SNP 1 and 2? Do we not get basically shouted down by people that basically don't even go into understanding or discussing the voting system in a positive manner? I'm not being horrible here to people that are in the audience. I don't mean that in any manner or form. It's just that I've been called all the names under the sun in comments before in Facebook groups, because apparently I don't understand what I'm talking about when it comes to the D'Hondt system. And there is an element as well within it. We don't know what 2026 will bring. But what we do know is if the wider movement kind of saw movement within the SNP, I reckon that they would win back a lot of voters. I reckon if we were to make a decision and say, right, let us as a movement campaign really, really hard for the SNP in the constituencies, especially the ones in the south of Scotland, because that vote's going to be kind of split a bit for the unionists because of reform. Let's try and get as many people, many constituencies down there as possible. Okay? Let's, as a movement, vote for any other indie party and try and prop up. And the goal is 86 pro-Scottish seats. That is the goal. All right? Once we've got that, there's so many more constitutional things that we can do as a Holyrood Parliament. SNP specifically not taken down EU against her will. Yeah, I think, yeah. I don't know whether it would be a less powerful thing for EFTA or that. I think EFTA is the right way to go to begin with, because it's easier to jump into that and it can be used as a stepping stone into the EU if people wanted that. It's like the monarchy. I'm really ambivalent about the monarchy. I don't really care one way or another, but there's people that want independence that do care about it. That can't be on the ballot paper. The whole essence of an independence referendum, if we ever got one, or we were putting a cross in a box and by any manner of form about it, you can't campaign on the EU or the Crown for that. We need to have independence first so we can make that as a solid decision afterwards. You know, no problem with the SNP governance. It's a division, different party flags that are creating division. Let's stop the difference and agree on the goal, which is independence. Yeah, Henry, I totally agree with you. First Minister, what are your plans to engage and motivate the undecided and doubtful voters? That's a great question, Zen Bloke. I think that it's something, again, that when you look at the undecided and doubtful voters, were they undecided on independence or undecided or doubtful now on the SNP's ability to deliver independence? Because you might find that there's people that are doubtful and a bit apathetic to voting, but they'll voting towards independence, but they'll vote for SNP because they're the better of all the political entities and parties out there compared to the other two big parties. Maybe 89 seats. That would Westminster recognise the fraction? The reason I'm saying 86, Mr. E, is because that's exactly 2/3 majority in the Parliament, and one of the constitutional things that we can do with that is if there is a 2/3 majority vote to hold an election under the Scotland Act, we can do it without the minimal term 5 years. We can hold an election. It's called an extraordinary election. People can go and Google that for it all. Andy, no monarchy. I'll even donate my time and look after Balmoral until something's sorted. Yeah, we could have a few parties up there, get a few raves going. I'm all for that. Definitely. No, there's a lot of good things there. My question to John Swinney would be, John, we need to move independence to the top tier within the party, because we can govern, you can govern. The teams of governance is second to none. You've proven that. You look after Scotland. There's so many things that are very positive. However, we have lost momentum and we have lost a lot of votes because independence, a lot of supporters of the SNP were in it for independence. And they've stayed at home. They stayed at home last year, and they'll probably stay at home this year. You need to make it about that, and you need to have it as a direction and not a carrot. You need to have it as like, okay, we're going to do something, and you might need to fall on your sword within the party to do something like not put out list seats. Okay, so is it about political hegemony, your power within Scotland, as you think that the only way to deliver independence is through politics, or is it the cause? Hegemony or cause, John? What is it? That's what I'd like to ask him as a whole for it all. Yes. Right, we are going to play a more upbeat song, one of Lisa's favourites. And and then we'll be back with a wee bit of a roundup and a discussion very briefly about, let me just I need to go past my whole script to get here, which is the whole title of it, Voting for Scotland is a Revolutionary Act. Okay, be back soon.
They draw the lines, they call the shots. Take what's ours and leave us not. But we see through their tired game. Scotland's rising won't be tamed. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence. No more waiting, no more chains. We'll stand together, break the reins. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. They say we're small, they say we're weak, but listen close. When Scotland speaks, our wealth is strong, our hearts are true. We know exactly what to do. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence. No more waiting, no more chains. We'll stand together, break the reins. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. No more lies, no more lies, no more fear, no more fear. Our time is now. Our day is here. The future's ours. Let's take the call. We rise as one. We rise for all. We build the wind. We sail the seas. We feed the world. We plant the trees. Scotland's future, bold and bright. Time to stand and claim our right. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. They say we're small, they say we're weak, but listen close. When Scotland speaks, our wealth is strong, our hearts are true. We know exactly what to do. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence. No more waiting, no more chains. We'll stand together, break the reins. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. Independence, for independence.
Cool. It's quite a happy song, isn't it? Play that at the march tomorrow as well. Incidentally, in Glasgow, I was playing that through my megaphone, and I had about half a dozen people come up and speak to me throughout the march, going, "Is that Saorsa song? Yeah. Oh wait, now you're Mo. Yeah, that's right, I'm Mo." Which was nice. I like the music. The music is good. It gets people thinking. It makes people feel funky and very good. Ashbury, yes, it was the Highlands and Islands that we got one seat in, and South Scotland, they got one seat on the list as well. So in all fairness, I've got all the stats up here. So in all fairness, there was 1,094,374 regional votes nationally that delivered 2 seats. Now, I've done all the calculations, and I've done it through spreadsheets countless times and played with different models for it all. And if those 1,094,374 seats were given to, even if half of them were given to alternative list parties for independence, that we would have had a ridiculous amount. 59 is, Andy, you're right again. 59 seats on the latest polling with no list seats. So if we were to if we were to vote strategically for independence, if we were to vote for Scotland, and if let's say it was about the same amount, we'll call it, for ease, we'll call it 1.1 million seats. Where I've put that through the spreadsheet with the DeHont calculation, it turned out to be about 30 to 35 list seats with pro-Scottish parties. So let's add that. Let's call it 30. That would be 89 seats. If it was 35 That's 94 pro-Scottish seats. That's definitive. The arguments that I've had back from that is that, well, you can't actually say that is a mandate for independence. Bollocks, it fucking is, all right? I'm sorry. If you were to go and do that, it shows wholeheartedly that we know how to use the system to benefit ourselves for independence. So go and shut up that argument, okay? Because that argument is nonsense. What it does mean, though, is it might be like I'm looking at the SNP's vote share nationally on the constituency was 47.7, and on the regional list was 40.34. People argue that if the regional list vote was closer to the percentage of the constituency seats, then we would probably get more. I've put that into my modelling as well, and it doesn't work. For instance, if we were to do that in Glasgow, just using Glasgow as a whole, if we wanted to get just one list seat in 2021, we would have had to have had all the votes, including all the unionist votes, all the Green votes, all the independence people's votes. They would have all have to have gone to SNP on the list, which is never going to happen because all the unionist votes are not going to come our way. All right. But let's just say people were like drunk and went in and put a cross in the SNP box. Okay. And let's say that happened. They would still be about 30,000 votes short. So where are they coming from? Out of thin air. You know, let's just wave our magic vote, shake the magic vote tree and watch them fall out. So my whole opinion is we need to be tactical and we need to be voting for Scotland. It's not, shall I read my script? No, I'm going to do an impassioned off the cuff thing. Okay. Voting for Scotland is voting for independence. It is voting to take our cause and the political pillar and securing it for 5 years. That's the goal. That's what we want. We don't want anything other than that, right? So we vote strategically. Let's just say everybody's up for that. Let's just say that we've convinced the movement, we've convinced all the political entities to march arm in arm to go and do this sort of thing. Let's just say the stars have aligned perfectly and it's like, holy crap, this is happening, okay? And we voted and we got it and it happened. It's secure for 5 years. It's there. We don't have to think about it anymore. We don't have to watch First Minister's questions. We don't have to give a shit about it. We just don't. We then take all our collective energy and put it into something else. And what would that be? The international pillar. Let's go and support and make content about, memes about, and talk about everything that is going on with Liberation Scotland, Mike Fenix. Let's get a camper van and do a tour of Scotland. All right, with Mike Fenix things, you know, I'll drive. If anybody else wants to be a co-pilot, we'll start down in Stranraer and we'll zigzag across Scotland and we'll stop at every town and city for a year to get as many signatures as we can. We should crowdfund that. I would love that. I would think it would be great. Okay, we don't even need to have a camper van. Just get a friggin' transit van. I'll sleep in the back of that and get a camp stove outside. It'd be a bit smelly after a while though, because I'd need to get a pure gym membership. Go shower there. God, stop it. You're going mental. Right. Do you understand though? If we secure the political pillar, we can move on and put our collective energy somewhere else. We always go back to the political pillar because the union's going to turn around and shit on us from a great height anyway. I'm swearing lots today. Aquarius John, you need to tell me to stop swearing because you are definitely somebody that I would turn around and listen to if you told me to stop swearing. Okay, that's good. Thank you. So yeah, and we just go back and help. Then, like I say, we go and help promote the international wing, and then we can start our own international campaigns as well, like writing directly to the EU, writing to international observers, writing to other countries that might support us. You know, we just say, right, okay, today we're going to write 10,000 emails. Here it is there, and we're going to send it to the French embassy, or we're going to send it to the French Parliament, to as many different French MPs that might be like soft on Scotland for independence. We'll do the same with Germany. We'll do the same God, do the same with Russia and China for shits and giggles. You know, why not? That would be hilarious. Can you imagine that getting back to the papers? Wow. I mean, that comment that I had earlier on, that one there. Oh, there's Mo from Saorsa. He's talking about like enlisting the help of China and Russia. You can see what his views on democracy are. No, I don't think so. So that's a possibility for an international thing. And then, you know something, the third pillar is already then in place because we're working together anyway. That's the grassroots. So then we can go and have the conversations with our peers that are a little bit soft on independence and they're undecided, like somebody was saying earlier on. And I think that's what the important thing is. But we have to make the stars align first, don't we, to get that voting for Scotland, and it's going to be difficult for people to do. We're too entrenched in our political entities. We need to get over ourselves and realise that they're just tools. Some of them are a bit blunt just now and a bit sharpening. But it needs to be done. Okay, who's going to the march tomorrow? I am. I'm going to the march tomorrow. I'm going to be playing music. I'm meeting Big Scottish Steve on the train at Waverley and we're going to travel up together. Promise we won't be drinking beer. Get the beers in, Steve. Okay, and yeah, that's going to be fun. If you see me, come up and say hello, introduce yourself, please. I will take selfies, not for my own ego, but I do have an Instagram. I've got several Instagram accounts for independence, but my favourite one is called, let me just go to it just now, Saorsa People. It's a very small one, but what I do is, oh man, I've not put them up from the Glasgow March. Whenever I take photographs of people, no, you won't see that. Shit. Can you see if I'll bring? No, it's not going to work. Basically, it's got pictures of me with everybody that might be important within the independence movement and also people that I know and hang out with within Saorsa and the independence movement as a whole. It's called Saorsa People because we're all freedom people, we're all liberty people, and at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, anybody that shares, likes or comments on anything that Saorsa as a team do, you're part of Saorsa. That's who you are. You don't need to wear the unicorn badge to say that you are, which is cool. So that's what we'll do with that. So come and get a selfie. Remember as well, we do have all our socials. That's them here. If you go to lazylinks.co.uk/Saorsa, you will have all the links there on a nice list that you can click on to. Then there's our Discord. Basically just send me a wee message and we can get you in, and our website. Come on, picture. There you go. We'll get that up there too. But that's us for tonight. I'm going to go and one world government is required. Nice one, BB. So yeah, that's us for tonight. I appreciate you all hanging out. Appreciate you all being here. I'm going to jump onto Discord for 10 minutes and while I'm getting my bag organised and stuff. So I hope to see some of you in there. And I hope to see as many of you as possible tomorrow at the march. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for listening to me ramble and going completely off topic tonight. And I will see some of you tomorrow. Take care.
It's so beautiful. I feel. I can't even explain this.
You must stop this.
I can't. I won't.
You know what will happen.
You need to join me.
No one's gonna take me alive. The time has come to make things right. You and I must fight for our rights. You and I must fight to survive.